Hi everyone, welcome back. For today, we're doing the fourth challenge in the 30 Days of Code challenge. And for today, we're doing Introduction to Conditional Statements. In the previous challenge, we dealt with creating variables of integers, floats, and strings. And we also perform multiple transformation operators on them. So we use multiplication, division, and addition. So for today, we're going to take it a step further and we'll be touching conditional statements. Like its name suggests, conditional statements are meant to be checked for conditions. So, for example, in this task, we're given an integer n and we have to perform the following conditional actions. If n is odd, we will print weird. If n is even and is in the inclusive range of 2 to 5, print not weird, and so on and so forth. We are checking a couple of conditions and we're deciding what we should do based on these conditions. So conditional statements consist of a few keywords that we can use. We can first use the if keyword, and that is followed by the conditional statement. And the conditional statement checks for whether if this statement evaluates to either 0, 1, or true or false. So for example, if you give this a number 1, then in this case, this will evaluate to true. If you pass in true, then it is also be evaluated to true as well. So on top of that, if you achieve this conditional statement, then you can put the instructions that you like to execute indented to the right of this if statement over here. So for example, for the first branch, we are checking for whether if n is odd, and if it is odd, we will print weird. So one way to check for whether if a number is odd is by using a modulo operator, which is this percentage sign over here. And what this percentage sign takes in on the left is the number that you want to check for remainder, and followed by the number that you're trying to divide by and get the remainder. So in this case, n percentage 2 in this case will give you back the remainder of n after you divide it by 2. So in this case, if it is odd, let's say 3 remainder 2 will always give us 1. So in this case, this will give us 1, and this would mean basically a check for whether if the number is odd or not. And if you wish to check for even, then you can do this. But because in this case, we're checking for odd, this statement is more than enough. Once we're done, we can move on to the second conditional statement keyword, which is else if. And else if, similar to if, is also takes in the conditional statement. The only caveat is that before you can use an else if, you must have an if before it or else if before it. So in this case, we are checking for the second branch where if n is even and if it's an inclusive range of 2 to 5. But at this point, if we pass line 14 and line 15, the number n is guaranteed to be even. So there's no need for us to check whether if it's even or not. The only thing that we have to check for is whether if n is within the inclusive range of 2 to 5. So let's do that by doing n more than equals to 2, and we will concatenate this conditional statement with the n keyword followed by n less than equals to 5. And if this is achieved, we will print not weird. And this is pretty much what we are going to do the same for branch 3. So if n is more than equals to 6 and n is less than equals to 20, then we'll print weird. And finally, for the final branch, if n is even and greater than 20, print not weird. So at this point, it is the final branch, so it's likely going to happen. That condition is likely going to be achieved anyway. So we can just use the final conditional keyword that we'll be touching today, which is else. So you can think of else as like a guard, in a sense, regardless of whether even if the conditions on line 14, 16, and 18 are not achieved, we will execute line 21 regardless. So in this case, we'll print not weird. And that's pretty much a good demonstration of conditional statements with this challenge. So we will run this code on the test cases to check that we are right, and we pass the test cases and we press submit code. You see that these conditional statements that we have created successfully cleared this challenge. One additional bonus that I would like to point out is that we can actually simplify these conditional statements using this syntax like this. So if you want to check whether if n is within this range, Python provides us with this nice syntax as well. There's no need for us to concatenate two conditions just to check whether if a number is within a range. So we can do the same for line 18. So we'll just do the check for n within 6 and 20, and we will run the code. And similarly, as you can see, it works. And that's pretty much it for this challenge. In summary, for this challenge, we touched conditional statements. We used the modulo operator to check whether if a number is odd or even. And we also used the three conditional statement keywords: if, else if, and else. And that's pretty much it for this challenge. If you find this useful, please give us a like and subscribe. But if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments and we will address it. Thank you so much, and we will see you in the next episode.